Yes, glad to know you're still there. And this is the main interview segment of New Dawn. And this morning, we turn our attention to the reports linking, or to turn our attention to reports that of the United States launching airstrikes against terrorist elements linked to insecurity in Nigeria. And you will agree with me that this is a development that raises critical questions about security, collaborations with national sovereignty and the involving fight against terrorism. Well, to drive this home, we have two gentlemen. Yes, one has joined us virtually, and we also have the other one right here in the studio. So one of our guests today is Dr. Abiodun Odushofe, the Associate Professor of Public Law at University of Lagos. He's joined us via Zoom. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Yeah. I'm excited to be here. Okay. Can you hear me loudly and clearly?
Yes, you are quite audible. Thank you so much. And we have in the studio a veteran broadcaster, a public affairs analyst, Mr. Eddie Aino. You welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Senior.
All right, thank you so much for having you. Let's kick start by understanding the different framings that have happened when it comes to the airstrike. You have the United States government referring to the operation as a powerful and, of course, a deadly strike against ISIS terrorists come in northwest Nigeria. And yes, you also have the Nigerian government calling it a precision strike operation or a joint operation with the U.S. targeting ISIS linked elements in Sokoto State. Dr. Abiodun Odushofe, I know you can hear me. Nigerians have said a whole lot of things after the airstrike. I don't know what this framing would do, and of course the implication of that moving forward with the security situations in the country.
Yeah, thank you so very much for that question. Before I address that question, because to me it's much ado about nothing, really. Prior to that military strike, what was the state of things in Nigeria, particularly the state of things in northern Nigeria, and the state of things in Kwara State, then moving towards the Osun State? What we had and what we still have is something that appears to be weak or incapacity to be able to address the issues of banditry, of kidnapping, of terrorism. And what has happened and what is happening is a few non-state actors that are armed, and some of them are franchise from other countries. They are transnational. They move from Sahel down to the north, commit havoc, and they move out again. So, but it appears, because this problem has been there even before this regime, right from President Jonathan's regime to President Buhari's regime, we had non-consistent armed banditry, terrorism, kidnapping, maiming, and it was a state of anarchy. And we appeared helpless. It appeared as if we had no capacity or weak capacity to challenge this problem. Now, don't let me go into the reasons why that appeared to be so. But the question you have not asked me is the intervention by the U.S. in collaboration with Nigerian military and Nigerian authorities over the weekend. Why are people raising questions? And are those questions legal? Well, those questions are constitutional questions, diplomatic questions, international law questions. Now, one thing that is clear is that the Nigerian government has come out to say, particularly the Minister of Foreign Affairs, to say that we are part of this. And like one minister said over the weekend, I think it was Keyamu, he said that, can your roof be on fire, your house, roof is on fire, and somebody offers to help you with your consent? Is there a problem with that? and they have the right, the legitimate right to interrogate the thing.
Of course, but we also, part of the question I'm asking is simply the framing of the United States. When you check the tweet of the President of the United States, he didn't mention any collaboration with the Nigerian government. He talked about, of course, the first tweet that actually was circulated the first time when he actually warned the Nigerian government that if these terrorists are not dealt with, he is going to come as the leader, more like one of the leaders of the world now, to come into Nigeria and of course help to kill this terrorists or destroy them. So what I'm trying to get is how the President of the United States framed the airstrike in Nigeria and how the government of Nigeria also reacted to the framing, and that's what I'm trying to get at. Is this really, because you agree with me that they have different understanding of the issues. The Trump administration, for instance, the president kept saying Christian genocide. That's the repeated version of his narrative. And of course, the Nigerian government continues to say that it is not what is on ground. This is what is on ground. It has nothing to do with religion, but of course, people coming to attack their citizens are not for the religion. So with that background, I want you to react to how the framing can actually get us to where we need to be in solving the Nigerian security challenges now.
Well, I agree with you that the framing and narration is quite germane. It's important to solve the problems at hand and to seeking the cooperation of the people and the Nigerian populace. However, we all know from experience, and if you study the tweets of President Trump, you will see that he has the tendency to talk off record. He has the tendency to infuse his personal opinion in official narration and official defense. So I would rather, as a patriotic Nigerian, believe what my president and my minister of foreign affairs say and all the executive arms of government. If you allow me to do my own framing or to do my own narration or interrogate this issue, we are actually interrogating this issue from a different perspective that I don't think there's any issue from that, because government of the state says we collaborated with people, we provided the intelligence with them. Now let me also take note, because we refer to Trump and his tweeting, which most of the time is provocative, even within America itself. You will agree also, you also agree with me that you saw the NSA, Rivadu, the AG, Minister of Justice and Attorney General, another high-ranking official, they went to the United States. We saw them. They had meeting with the people that matter in the United States.
Okay.
They didn't go there for a jamboree. They didn't go there for a party. They went there after that threat of Donald Trump. And let me also tell us that Donald Trump cannot and has no capacity to act in isolation of the Parliament of the United States of America. So he also has no right to unilaterally come into Nigeria and just intervene or bomb Nigeria or do whatever he likes in Nigeria. There are rules guiding that. That will weaken the issue of sovereignty. That will also amount to selective sovereignty. And that is only applicable when we have the application of unwilling or unable principles that was applied in Pakistan when they were looking for Osama bin Laden. The principle is very sensitive in international circles and it is not generally agreed upon. It has not attained the status of international customary norms. So what I'm saying here is that I believe my Nigerian government and Nigerian authorities that said we knew about this. The foreign affairs minister said I spoke with them for 16 minutes. Will you be telling lies? Are we not supposed to believe our officials? Okay. That is where I stand. I choose to believe my government.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Deshote. Please stay with us. Let's come back now to the studio. Mr. Eddie, I know there are fears that these U.S. airstrikes won't fix the Nigerian security crisis. but rather make it worse because of the precedents. Historically, the interventions of the United States in Libya, in Afghanistan, they left those countries worse than they met there. So there are fears that the United States, when it's the most critical, could just leave Nigeria stranded.
Well, there are so many issues involved in this matter. He has highlighted some of them. To understand the nitty-gritty of it all, for me, I would think that we need to read Samuel Huntington, The Clash of Civilizations and the Remaking of World Order. And in it, he argued that the world is now tilting rather than the Cold War era, where you had nation states and ideology defining the whole world. You now have a situation whereby things have changed. You now look at culture. You now look at even ordinary flag, ordinary just colors determine what you do. And it's now between the Western world and that's the issue we're discussing, between the Western world and Islam then cynic. Islam in the sense that Islam has attained a different dimension entirely with the coming in of Al-Qaeda, ISIS, ISWAP, and what have you. So we now have terrorist groups all over the place, and so Nigeria is part of it. For so many, just like the Prof mentioned, for so many months, about 20 months, we didn't do anything, or we didn't do anything substantial. But this man came up to say, okay, they are killing Christians. Yes, you mentioned framing. Framing, yes, Nigeria is looking at it from the broader perspective that everybody matters, whether you're a Christian, you're a Muslim, or an atheist, or whatever. But the issue, apart from this globalization thing, you now have a global power, coming in. Not only that, you have supporters among his MAGA members. Then not only that, you have supporters in Nigeria. Recall what the current president, that's Oko, what he said. He said, for the first time in 20 years, we are now seeing a situation whereby nobody will woke up us all. And Nigerians have been reacting. Individuals have been reacting. Parties have been reacting. Churches and individuals have been reacting. For me, the framing doesn't really matter. The fact is that we are here, where we are now. Do we have anything to do about it? Yes, so many things to do. Does the world have anything to do about it? Yes, that is the other power. Because we are talking of multilateralism. We are talking of bilateralism. Bilateral in the sense that it's between Nigeria and the United States. The multilateral angle to it is what Netanyahu said, look, we feel so too. Don't kill Christians. Not only that, they use Ghana to do reconnaissance, to do surveillance, to do intelligence gathering by an international company that does that for America. America has contractors that works with them when it comes to this kind of thing. So these are the issues. Do we have anything to, do we have much to gain? Is there anything we can do about it? Whether it's framing, whether it's global and within the context of Nigeria, whether it's all of us that are affected, or whether it's Christians in it. And I think for me, it doesn't really matter. We are here, we are now. The other global powers are not talking. Just like France is dealing with Ukraine. They won't talk. For instance, when Trump initially started it, Russia won, said don't go there because of sovereignty. China won, don't go there because of sovereignty, but we have done it. And here we are left with a fatal country. Take it or leave it. So, what are the benefits? Is what I think we should be looking at. What are, because there is something we can do, there is something the world can do about it. America will follow anybody that is doing anything contrary to normal tenets. Like it followed mentioned Pakistan, the Osama bin Laden, and it has been killing, has been using drones to kill, I see Israel people. It will continue to do it. And nobody will say, the other world powers will not conquer them. So, do we have anything to benefit? I think that is what we should be looking at. Somebody mentioned, your question is, will it leave Nigeria worse off? Fine. Yes. It depends. You can't compare it to Iraq or to Libya. The Libyans themselves killed the man because he told them, what America is doing is to get me off, and you will not have peace. You don't have peace in that place. You have warlords. Iraq, the same thing. Pakistan is in a perpetual war on its own, with Indonesia and whatever, and there. So, whether we like it or not, we will benefit from it. For me, I think we benefit from it because it's now moving from, it's beyond the lives being killed. It's beyond it. There's economic collapse. There are communities, being taken off their houses. We cannot even bring them back, IDPs. That's part of what we are suffering. Apart from that, banditry has metastasized. We now have the hierarchy, another group, Kulukala, whatever they call themselves. More will start coming up. Can we benefit from it? Yes. Because some other countries have gone through this, through this route. So, for me, I think it will not be like what you have in Iraq or Libya or even Pakistan. It won't be like it because the issues are different. In Libya, Americans wanted to get rid of Gaddafi because Gaddafi was going beyond what he was to have done. For instance, there was this killing he did, in West Berlin, and the revenge. That was when they bombed Tripoli and Benghazi. So that's as far as, so you get, although they retaliated again, in Kenya. So what I'm saying in essence is that, yes, it will not be the same. Nigerian kids will not be the same because we don't have the type of people that will continue to fight America. You can't, you don't even have, yes, they have equipment and what have you, but if we do the right thing, we will not have the situation. It will not leave Nigeria worse off. No.
But 3 days for this after the airstrike, there are really no reports to say, okay, so number of terrorists have been neutralized or killed. And that's why some people are saying that the airstrike missed targets.
Haven't we, even our own Air Force people, what of Iran? They have the capacity or the demonstration of getting the wrong target. You know that any Air Force in the world will make that mistake. However, I do not want to believe, because I saw a video yesterday in which I see dead bodies. And it looks like they were bombed, that kind of thing. But again, they are not saying anything because in international relations, there are so many things you hide from people. That's the reason why the president cannot write their memoir until 10 years after leaving office, because there are some facts, if you release it today, Nigeria will break and Nigeria will run riot. So they don't have to tell us everything. All we needed them to do, maybe they have done it. What do we need them to do? To put it up, what they want on the table, that is Nigerian side, to say, Trump, this is what we want from you. Get rid of these people and get away. And don't forget, Nigeria has this capacity. Look at Nigeria's Defense Pact, 1962. Students and civil servants told Britain, we don't want it, take it away. Look at our exploits when it comes to independence in Africa or decolonization. And you see what we did even South Africa. See what we did to Britain. See what we did to America when there was a fight between MPLA, Augustine Neto, and the other side. So America supported Augustine Neto, which was the real representative of the people against the wish of America. In fact, so many people believe that was why Murtala Muhammad was killed. Not only that, we've been to Congo, we've been to Liberia, we've been to Sierra Leone, we've excelled. So I don't see, there's nothing that we need to
Okay.
Hear about what has happened.
Okay, I would like to take you back to some of the things you said, earlier. You talked about clash of civilization,
Yes.
which of course you see the kind of narrative being structured. Yes, you talked about Islam being a religion that you see weaponization of that religion, and of course each time there is a profiling of any terrorist group, it always carries that Islamic terrorism, and of course they said extremists at times, and of course that is also part of the debate in the world discussion as to what terrorism is, more like trying to associate Islam with terrorism, or terrorism with Islam rather. And you've seen, in recent times, you also saw what when the President of America reacted, talking about Christian genocide, and people became skeptical about what Benjamin Netanyahu is interested in Nigeria, trying to even talk about Christian killings in Nigeria, and of course they know what is happening in Gaza presently, what the world is telling the Prime Minister of Israel, and of course those are debates that are going on, and we really need to understand why they are interested in Nigeria as well. If they are all telling us that it is Nigeria that they have to fight terrorists, and Nigerians are also interested in fighting terrorists. You talked about, I saw a report after the airstrike as well, when they said they missed target, some said it was civilian casualties that they went to attack standards, which of course are critical problems that Nigerian Air Force has also been having, solving the problem of insecurity in that region. The moment an attack happened, or they got intelligence and then they tried to step in, the next thing you start to hear in the dailies, of course Amnesty International will come out to say, this of course is wrong, they didn't target the right people, they were just innocent people farming on their farms and all of that. You have those different distortions, and now you have the US command, you're also saying the same thing. Is that not showing the complexity of how the Nigerian security situation has actually degenerated?
Yes, there are so many things that have degenerated in Nigeria, but we can no longer continue to hide, to be like the Professor Ostrich that hides himself, the fair in the sand, forgetting that every part of the plant is left open. You see, I tell people, when events happen in Nigeria, you have embassies. In fact, the world has gone global. The world has gone, it's even beyond the ordinary village now. It's gotten to the bedroom. That anything that is happening, you have embassies. The world sees us. In fact, like one smart, I forgot, I remember the man's name. He said, this strike is symbolic in the sense that there is this lady that was killed in Sokoto, and it was in Sokoto that the strike took place, and it was to send the right signal to the people to say that no, you can no longer continue to do this. Deborah Samuel, yes, in 2022, she was lynched. Mobs descended on her, and that's not the first time. There was Gideon Akaluka, who was beheaded, and they started parading himself all over the place. There was Bridget Agbamuchi in Kano. There in Gombe. There was still there was this Oluwa Shefi, a teacher who went to engineering clubs and the students, and in an attempt to stop them from cheating, she collected the bag and threw it on the floor. The lady shouted, blasphemy, against and the minister killed her and put her body inside her car and burned it. So we have seen all these things, and that's why we can no longer pretend. Why? Because what are we doing about it? What is happening to Deborah? What have we done about Deborah? What has happened to the 23 people identified in UAE? 20 of them in the Nigerians, 3 of them foreigners. We are not doing what we are supposed to do.
Okay.
That I think is the problem.
Okay, let's engage Dr. Udushosa again. It's interesting to see the dynamics of security challenges in Nigeria, And some people are actually questioning why it was a shock for a lot of people, because they were not expecting that a Trump administration would have such level of collaboration with the Nigerian government. And you are a believer of what the Nigerian government have been telling us so far. And some said it is largely because you look at the failures, the failings in the part of intelligence. When you provide intelligence to the army or the police, you discover that the people that we refer to as terrorists, they get that information. A typical example of that was the general that was killed in Borno State during the ambush. He shared his location, and of course part of what we saw was that the ISIS group that actually killed him, they also shared that particular location, which of course was how they traced him. So they are talking about the people that fighting the ISIS within the ranks of security architecture that are feeding them with intelligence, and which was one of the reasons they said when they gave it to America and nobody knew about it, eventually even the terrorists themselves were not aware that was going to come. So how do we solve that critical part where intelligence would be considered intelligence, and of course the right people will really get the right information when it comes to protecting lives and properties within the Nigerian space?
Thank you so much, and I agree and I share your perspective on the issue of leak, the intelligence leaking. And that is not, let's not take that in isolation. Let's start from President Jonathan's time, when he said he was aware that there are people that had sympathy for Boko Haram in his government. Moving forward, we are also witnesses to President Buhari's regime, when one of his key ministers was a non-sympathizer to bandits and terrorists. And he didn't deny it. What he said was that I've repented and I've associated myself with them without necessarily furnishing evidence. Now, we are not also unaware of the case that you have cited when the general escaped and now call for enforcement that it should be rescued, and eventually that was seemingly shared with terrorists. Now, so the problem with banditry terrorism in Nigeria is that some people are benefiting from it. It has become an industry. And I will not be surprised if we have people in the Senate that are sympathetic to these people. We also have people in government as well that may be sympathetic to them. And don't forget that Nigeria is a multicultural society. So that means we may likely have people that have sympathy for their flawed ideologies. And that's why I would like us to refrain from framing this thing as a religious issue. Trump coming to attack Muslims. That will set our country on fire. And that will make us look like Somalia, Libya, and all those states. Let me tell us that this is not the first time the U.S. will intervene with the consent of the country. They are in Iraq as we speak. For 2014, Iraq invited them and they stabilized Iraq. They have stabilized Iraq. They are in Iraq from 2014. They have been in Somalia from 2007 till today. They are in Somalia, granted. They are in Yemen from 2002 till today. They are in Mali from 2013. Now, what I'm trying to say is that it appears from research that in a place where U.S. intervene with the consent of the government, they tend to be more effective.
Okay.
But in places that opponent side and say, oh, they are intervening in Libya, they are intervening in Yemen, Libya particularly, then it became something else. it degenerated. Now the issue now going forward, because you asked me that what can we do to make sure that we don't have situations where intelligence is compromised. That is the hard work. We have short-term issues we can deal with, and we have long-term issues we can deal with. I'm not a security expert, I'm a law expert, and I'm also conversant with international law, international law. But from my little perspective and research that I have done in relation to security, we can do one. We can do advocacy to tell the people and the security agencies that these people are not propagating Islam. True Islamic scholars know this, and they have been saying this. These people that are killing and maiming people are not genuine Muslims. They go to, still in December they went to the mosque and bombed the mosque and killed people paying. And that was not in isolation. They do that a lot. So the first thing is advocacy. The second thing is that I don't know why US came seemingly without informing Nigerian government or without telling them the without giving them the full details of what they intend to do. And they will not do that because we have had instances in the past where they had a meeting with Nigerian intelligence and that they will gouge the people, and the next day those people are wearing masks and they just pack their things and left, and these are not serious people. So we don't want that. We need to do proper vetting. If we are going to again collaborate with outsiders, with US, with UK, with France, with anybody that can help to vet our security personnel. So look, Nigerian security is not that weak. We are one of the best in Africa. I can tell you that. In all the international engagement they have done, we have been rated very highly. We are sophisticated. We are powerful. The problem is what you have identified. We have modes. We have people that are compromising our intelligence framework. So what we have to do is to flush them out. If we foreign help to do that, to come and interview everybody, to take their biometrics, to take their, like, you want to travel to America now, they want your social media handles for the past 5 years. So get people social media handles for the past 10 years, to investigate what they are doing online, to investigate who they are communicating with, do those thorough vetting, then readmit them into the army, or before you accuse somebody, investigate them properly. Sensitize the community as well, because I understand that banditry, terrorism cannot thrive without some level of local collaboration. The people, and they might collaborate as of fear anyway. So you need to go there and reorientate them and advise them and tell them the disadvantages of this thing that is happening. Collapse of the economy, collapse of tourism, collapse of worshiping rights. So those are my suggestions.
Thank you so much. Now, but let's look at it from a multi-layered, approach. What about those factors, fueling, insecurity? So some will say Nigerian conflicts are symptoms of deeper, governance, failures. Corruption, poverty. If 1,000 terrorists are killed, it seems there's a market already where they can even recruit maybe 2,000 or more. So do you think the young government also doing enough to push people out of poverty in a way? Because if people are impoverished, they are easily brainwashed.
Thank you. Thank you. And I love that question, because that is actually the cause of this banditry and insecurity. And I'm not a politician, so it might appear from my arguments that I have sympathy for Nigerian government. No, I'm just a patriot. I just believe in Nigeria, and I believe we can be the best in the world if we do the right thing. Thank you for that question. It's a profound question. Nigerian government have indirectly contributed to these issues, because there are some low-hanging fruits that they say now that they have social welfare system. They have distributed several billions of naira to poor people. Please, can you tell me if you know any poor person that has received that money? Nobody. So corruption is part of the problem. Wickedness is part of the problem. Failure to give people living wage is part of the problem. Even the failure to give our military intelligence, security, adequate welfare is part of the problem. How much are soldiers earning? If they dare die doing in the course of work, what insurance is available for them? What scholarship is available for their children? Are they too much to do? Government will tell us they don't have money to pay minimum wage of 150,000 or to provide welfare for people. But we will see them, they will buy yachts. They will be going with security of like a battalion. They all do that. We saw what the criticism of one nation recently. That, oh, what happened in Togo? You should have sent the security of your son to just go and put Togo into order. So what I'm saying here is that we see opulence, we see mismanagement of our resources. And that's why locals believe more in these bandits than government officials. Because I understand that in some parts of the north, you can only see police posts within short vicinity. You have to travel like 200 kilometers before you see next police post. So things like that will not give the people confidence. You have not been able to even protect farmers that go to work. These are low-hanging fruits that I believe that we have the resources and the capacity to do. But I don't know why government is not doing that. I don't know why they are not encouraging farmers to go to farm and protect them. I don't know why they are not paying living wage. They are paying slavery wage. Who can survive on 70,000? And the people have not, that are not even benefited. They are not, most of the states have not even complied with that. So what I'm saying is, why I digress too much, is that there are no hanging fruit. Pay living wage. Let's move government closer to the people, and that's why I agree with both President Buhari and President Tinubu on the need to empower local government. When I was growing up, local government has power. You see them, they come with tractors, they come with personnel that will clean the road, that will clear the road, they do all sorts of things. But now, power, literally, has been taken from local government and it is the state government, and they are doing whatever they like with it. They are not giving local government the allocation. If you give local government the allocation and they fail to use it to meet the needs of the people, then I don't need to even enter a car. I can walk to my local government headquarters and ask them and interrogate them and let them account for what they have collected from the federal government. But the state governments will not allow this to be. And let me warn that 1 million Americans will not solve this problem if you don't address this issue that you have raised. The issue of making people to feel the dividends of democracy. The issue of making human beings to feel like human and to live with dignity. In cases where people are living with less than $1 a day, security will multiply. I read in the papers about 2-3 days ago that we have even new entrants, another set of bandits. They are entering Nigeria now. They all go to collect franchise for different reasons, mostly economic reasons. Let us all studies that have read in connection with this banditry terrorism we have. It's not a religious issue. Don't let us be carried away with truth. Come and see whatever you like. But every person knows that, every scholar, every commentator knows that this is not a religious crisis, and there are no religious crises in Nigeria. What we have in Nigeria is economic crisis that are dovetailed into insecurity. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, back to Mr. Eddie, I know. Just like my colleague has said initially, she talked about framing. And I was reading a piece written by Femi Ogunlade, a legal historian, on Al Jazeera, and he argued that the timing risks being interpreted as an act of supporting a broader narrative of Western crusade against the Muslim community. He argued that how come these airstrikes started in Sokoto, which is like the center of Islamic authority. Now, what should the Nigerian government do, to address this what you could tag as misinterpretation or negative narrative or framing of this airstrike?
Let me contribute to what the Prof mentioned with regards to the root causes of some of these problems. When you look at the north, when you compare, juxtapose the two, the north and the south, you realize the fact that just like Chief Obafemi was said, very many years back, that the children you refuse to train today will change you and your children tomorrow, and that is what is happening. When you look at the number of schools in the north, it's so low compared to the number of mosques in the north, and the elites in the north are using this religion to shortchange the masses, and that is true. Their own children attend schools abroad, they attend universities here, everywhere, but they refuse to train the youth there. Rather, instead of training them, you give them peanuts. This is Lankabidi politics. You come to my house, I give you food and all that. That is not supposed to be so. So, now, number one, education, literacy must increase. The literacy level is so low, and that's the reason why some of them will have 10 wives, 40 children, and what do you do with 40 children when you don't have the means to train them? You throw them to the street. So we should stop street attendance. I mean, in terms of poverty, that's one other thing that I think we should do. Then, in terms of radical doctrine, they have radicalized the northern Muslims. They are so bad about that. I can argue that to anyone. They believe that, in fact, some of them don't even allow the South to lead prayers. They believe that they are the best in terms of prayers and Muslim and what have you. And if you have that, if you carry that to governance, that's what you get. Now, apart from the fact that yes, you have weak governance system in Nigeria. If you don't have weak governance system, what has happened to those who have been fingered, killing people? It was only Abacha that ensured that Brigadier Kaluka's death was avenged. What of the others? So, weak governance system, we must reduce it. If anybody offended, if anybody was behind anything, take care of them immediately. And not even John Enenche, a general, mentioned it, that there are internal saboteurs, that federal government all governments must ensure that the internal saboteurs are taken care of. He said from the generals, to the corporals. And if you don't do that, he mentioned one case where mass and all that, before you know it, they know. Not only that, there are 3 other cases when they knew that there were fake columnists inside. That's another thing that I think we should do. Now back to your question, wrong narrative. Well, it's a world, it's a global world. And divided, in fact, apart from Muslims and what have you, apart from Muslims and Christians, go to India, there are so many religions there. Spain, there are so many other religions. If we allow them to turn upside down our own narrative that we are saying is a general thing. Because the terrorist does not, you don't put whether you are Muslim or Christian on your forehead. Although there were instances when such a thing had happened. I mean, I read where a man said, the moment you mentioned the news that he was a Christian, he was separated. It's happening. I think all this, the leaders, the northern leaders, must now brace up to accept that unless they rethink their narrative and preach tolerance, we won't get anywhere. Okay,
when we started this program, when we were coming on board, we were talking about the Ayo Festival celebrated in Lagos State, and of course, on the start, we were able to say that there is difference between culture and, of course, the religion of the people.
Okay.
And largely, what you have also stressed, in the north, for instance, we've seen how they have wrapped their own culture, around Islamic culture, religion rather, and of course they push this narrative, and everybody believes it's about the religion, because we see the relationship between the American government and the owners of Islam, so to say, the ones that brought Islam to us in Nigeria, in Africa really, and we see the kind of mutual relationship and mutual respect that they all, that is between the two of them. And of course you see what they do in developing countries using the same religious narrative. And I like the fact that you've been able to point to the fact that the government of the state is also has a lot of work to do. We saw the elite, the northern elite, what they do with their population. Of course, some talked about it as politicization of the religious crisis in the north. They allow their own children to go to attend Western education, to Western countries, of course, to get Western education. Of course, they deny the current their own larger population that, which is one of the reasons some of us would argue that Awolowo did a great job for the Southerners now that got that free education to liberate the minds of the people. So how much of liberation do you think would go? Because some are already pushing, I saw a video in the course of the week as well that the terrorists are willing to surrender. So if we have any terrorist surrendering at this stage, how do we deal with that? Do we continue with the radicalization program because of where that has taken us in this country really?
Well, the radicalization program was, for me, enormity. Because under General Buhari, so many things happened that really exacerbated this problem. For instance, visa on arrival, porous borders, inability to do proper policing. For instance, when Akeredolu suggested that we should have, before Amotekun was eventually established, he said, let's have a regional thing. Forgetting that as a federal state, in all federations, you have cooperation on regional lines. You have policing across the board. In fact, we have not even mentioned state policing and local government, because if we don't extend decentralization to that place, they are nearer to the forest. That's an aside. So, under Buhari, it was, so many things were impossible. It was Akeredolu that said, okay, if we cannot establish a regional law, let each state establish its own law, and they did. Now, with Tinubu there, they are now saying we want to do regional collaboration, and it's good. But more often than not, because it was Malami there, Malami and Buhari, they disallowed. So we should, our leaders should have a rethink, especially some of them that feel that benefit from this system. They should have a rethink. In fact, the reason why some of them have not even been brought to book, the 23 people, is because of where they come from. Yes, you begin to wonder, where do those people get 200 and something motorcycles to drive to Dapchi and to drive to Zimaga, this last one that happened? Where did they get the petrol? So there are insiders. That was what John and mentioned.
Okay, let me engage for a while. Part of what has been said is that you remember the interview of the former Chief of Defense Staff, who is now the current Minister of Defense, on Al Jazeera, saying that international flow of funds, he talked about logistics, how they were able to supply logistics to terrorists, that it's not enough for America to come down. They should also track the sponsors of these people. Bombing their space is not going to, those are just secondary stakeholders. The primary stakeholders are the ones that the secondary stakeholders are the ones that gather intelligence for them. Those guys, when you see them, they are not really learned like that. Somebody is in charge, and of course that is who, or those are the people that are actually leading them to wherever they are. So what do you say to the international communities as well? As Trump is interested in eliminating terrorists on Nigerian soil, what more can they do in terms of the sponsors of the terrorists?
Thank you for that profound question. But the answer to that question is more complicated and more embracing than It's not a monopoly. It's not one answer. It's not a single answer. Now, in as much as I agree with him that international partners should also help us to track this fund, I also want to suggest that we look inwards. The other time, we understand that Dubai Emirates gave us some names. I'm not sure we have done anything about those names. And many years after, maybe 2-3 years down the lane, when people were agitating, some names were published, only for people to tell us that they are fake names or that those companies were not in existence. So let us look inward. What you have said is that they should help us to track the sponsors and the financial transactions. I want to believe they do that. Because in the US, for instance, you can't just take money, say a house or a car is $20,000 or $50,000. It's impossible for you to just take that $20,000 to go and buy the car or to go and buy a house. You get arrested. And your account will block immediately, except you are a footballer or you are a known star. Otherwise, significant majority of the people, they do cash finance, mortgage, etc. So what I'm trying to say is that we should look inwards and prevent the issue of cash, or even when we do transactions, does it get monitored? If I have money now, I can just take cash to the bank and buy the best car in Nigeria, 50 million. I'm a lecturer, I'm an assistant professor. Nobody will ask me, where did you get that money from? How much have you paid? So these are the things. Look, some people come into community with 200 motorcycles. They will take 400 children, 300 children. Are they ghosts? No, are we kidding? So before we seek international help, let's be serious with ourselves. And we need to address certain issues. You asked me the other time that what can be done? So the things that I didn't remember to say, and ties up with this is, look, we need to use technology to help us. Ministries, departments, agencies, individuals should be discouraged, should be prohibited from paying cash to people. And when you pay cash that is beyond reasonable amount of money, maybe less capital, 10 million, 15 million, 20 million, you need higher mandate to approve such things. So that it will be difficult for people to move money without tracing. But beyond that, I also want to suggest one key thing. Now we all know, but we don't about our minds to the implication. And that is the minimum qualification to hold public office. Minimum qualification to be president, minimum qualification to be governor, minimum qualification to be a senator. Because that will tie to the quality of representation that we have. Do you know that the minimum qualification is not only school certificate? Because that's what we say in Nigeria. Oh, school certificate, school certificate. That is not the minimum qualification. The minimum qualification is school certificate or its equivalent. If the paper its equivalent has been declared and has been adjudicated to include primary school certificate, to include F9 parallel, to include 2-week training, to include any form of training that is approved by INEC. What I'm saying, to include whether you have worked as a janitor, as a cleaner in a ministry for 10 years or 5 years, then you can become president of Nigeria. What I'm saying here is that, like Kenya, we should increase the minimum qualifications of the people that hold public positions in Nigeria. You can't go and work in multinational corporations or with Dangote with school certificate F9 parallel. Because that will determine the quality of the things that you do. It will determine the quality of the law that you make. It will determine some of these.
Dr. Deshote,
yes.
Our time is fast spent. We have to go now. But of course, this is an ongoing conversation. We'll definitely continue with this, maybe in our subsequent programs or another time on New Dawn. We must thank you especially for your insightful contribution on the show, Dr. Deshote, Associate Professor of Public Law at University of Lagos. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Edia, we must also thank you for the profound, insightful, contribution, somewhat regarding this development, the launching of U.S. airstrikes against terrorists in Nigeria. Well, our time is up. I wanted to ask about the possibility of foreign military base. Now that we've admitted that yes, there are issues, and we've not been able to solve these issues internally. But maybe don't worry, it's an ongoing conversation. Thank you so much, Mr. Edia.
I just want to thank. I just to greet my brother because I'm Abiodun too.
Okay.
Thank you so much for watching. To our viewers, we appreciate your support always on Ogun State Television, and please don't forget, keep watching the People's Telly, and of course, bye for now from here.